Hey everybody, Aaron here. Welcome back to another anime review. Yes, I know. Listen, I know I'm not gonna keep apologizing. I would love to make video reviews more often. It's hard for me to do. I don't have enough time. But I do anime reviews and other reviews on Sunset Nerdverse. You can check that out. I will leave a review for Oshi no Ko season 3, the actual written one. I will leave in the description box below. Check it out, please. It helps me as a writer. It also helps our website, which is really nice. And it's growing, so that's good. I want the site to grow bigger and bigger. So you guys, I know, can help me out with that. Now, I will say also, this is not going to be a clone of that review. That's more like spoiler free completely. I'm going to have to do some mild spoilers for this video review, but I'm not going to spoil a lot of it because season 3, I think, works the best when you don't go into it completely spoiled. There are some big spoiler moments, and I'm not going to talk about that in the video review. Now, I feel like Oshi no Ko season 3 got kind of overshadowed by a lot of stuff. It's not maybe, not the awards stuff because obviously it's came out later in the season, but I feel like it got overshadowed because either A, no one really cares about it anymore, which is possible, or B, the manga having been done now for what I think several months, maybe almost a year, has left a very diverse taste in the fandom. Now, I'm not going to go into it too much because I know that there are some anime onlys that are watching Oshi no Ko. I also know that there are some people that would like not to have them compared. I will say that I'll get this part of the right way right away. The manga and anime are going almost neck and neck with in terms of how they're doing content. I mean, there's very little skipped from the anime from the manga. So it's if you are someone that's reading it and then wants to watch it later on or whatever, or vice versa, it does a good job. The anime does a very good job of adapting the manga. But I will say that the ending, it leaves a very kind of diversive feeling in you. Like, it left a sour taste in my mouth because it's not the way I want it to end. It makes sense on the grander scheme of things, but at the same token, it feels like it's such a, I don't know, slap to the face in some ways of the readers. Now, is it a bad ending? I don't want to say it's a bad ending. Like that's like that would be saying the wrong thing. It's not a super diverse ending like some manga that have come out recently. It's just more of an ending that feels like it's too bittersweet for its own good, if that makes sense. But let's go away from the manga. Let's talk about the anime. Now, Volume 3 picks up I want to say like a few months after Volume 2 picks up in terms of the story. Season 3 picks up a few months after Season 2 ends, where we have Aqua and Ruby going their very diverse routes in terms of their revenge plot. Now, with Aqua has felt like, for the most part, he doesn't have to have the same revenge because he thinks that the killer of aka his mother, well, strange mother, that because he was reincarnated into another body and he was birthed from he feels like that with her possible murderer's death being already absolved and resolved and stuff like that, he feels like it's not a time he doesn't have to do anything anymore. He could let bygones be bygones. But he does eventually go back into that realm of thinking later on when certain revelations kind of spring up on the season. And meanwhile, the one that I think gets the most prominence in season 3, which I was happy to see, is Ruby, because Ruby has been this back burner character. I feel like she's used strongly in the series. Don't get me wrong, but she has not been. I think feel like with the main character vibe as Aqua, for example. And this season, Ruby is out there because Ruby has made it her sole mission now knowing that not only the doctor was killed, but the her mother was killed. Obviously, she knew that already. She's now making it 100% her goal to find the killer of both of them because she feels like they are linked, and she wants to figure out how to do it. And so she's going through all these internal issues because she is now, instead of just being the carefree, charismatic girl she was before, now she's really dubious. She's lying to her friends. She's lying to her fellow B Kamachi co-stars and idols and stuff like that. She's just at this point that she does not care about hurting other people's feelings or being basically a perfect liar for everyone, if it means that she could find a means of an end for revenge, basically, right? So, it's very interesting. This season really delves a lot into, I want to say, Ruby's take on stuff like that. Now, again, like I said, Aqua does have this moment where he realizes certain things and certain things come to light. And you also have the weird supernatural being that comes into play later on, especially near the end of the season, which I love that part. Where, if you remember the last few seasons, you had this like little girl that had long silver hair and she seemed to pop out of nowhere. And she seems to know that Aqua and Ruby are reincarnations. You find out a little bit more about her. So for those that I know are really hell bent on figure out what her story was in season 2, you find out more about her in season 3, which is nice. they do a good job of kind of still keeping her a mysterious character because you don't want to just spoil her character completely. Like, who is a strange little girl that just pops out of nowhere? How does she know so much about these adults, and how does she know about their reincarnated status? You do learn a little bit. I want to say just very little. You learn more, I think, in the final season, which, by the way, season 4, if you guys didn't know, is supposed to be the climax to the anime adaptation of Oshi no Ko, which is going to be nice to see. Now, I'm kind of glad that it's only going to do a 4 season stint. Like, they're doing, like I said, a great job of adapting the manga. They're doing a great job of that. And I feel like if they could probably stretch it to 5 seasons. I'll be honest with you. I think there's enough content to do a 5th season. But at the same token, I feel like that would also just be pushing it because of sale revenue, like not doing it because they could, they're just doing it because we can make more money. And they do a good job of not doing that. So I'm very happy that season 4 will be what ends the finale of the series. I still hope that season 4 changes the ending a little bit. I would be okay with that, even as someone who read the manga. I would be perfectly fine with that. But we'll see. It's stuff's happened, but I really, with how everything's been copied in terms of the story presentation between both the manga and the anime. I don't see them deviating too much from the manga and saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna switch that ending completely." I mean, it's not impossible. I would like it, but it's not impossible. It's probably not gonna happen. Now, let's talk about animation. So, because the story, for the most part, the story of Oshi no Ko season 3 is great. They do a great job of keeping this air of mystery. It feels like a true revenge plot. I'm not gonna go too much into that right now because, like I said, it's a big spoiler heavy thing. If I want to, like, don't get me wrong, I will love to talk to you guys about some of the big story aspects of season 3. There are some radical moments that happen, especially between the twins. They're I want to say their full relationship comes into a viewpoint at one point. One episode is particular that will actually bring you to tears. It's really well done. They did such a good job of adapting. I keep saying adapting. I don't know why. Adapting the manga and making it just like an impactful scene that has so much heart to it that I actually feel like, honestly, the anime might do a better job of adapting that scene because it feels like it hits harder when they show all the flashbacks and they show the emotions of the characters' faces moving and stuff like that. I feel like it actually did a better job of adapting. I could be wrong. If you guys feel differently, let me know in the comments below. I don't. It's perfectly fine. That's just my personal take to it. I actually think the anime did a good job of that. Animation wise, it coincides with the story. The animation this season was phenomenal. I think it's Koga Doga is the ones that do the animation for Oshi no Ko. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, I apologize. They do a great job of clearly showing that because Oshi no Ko is loved, or at least feels like it's loved in terms of grand scheme of things, they're doing their best to make sure the animation is up to par. Characters, and this is a show that it's very interesting because season 2, if you guys remember, was about the theater arc. The theater arc being that there were characters that were trying to portray a manga and drama like on stage. Now, what was cool about that was it was so action packed. It was so action heavy. It had some really nice animation. It was probably one of the prominent parts of season 2 because it was like the last like several episodes, especially. But this is more back to the season 1 of things where it's a lot more talking heavy. So you don't have dialogue heavy, I should say. It's more about characters being stationary, just talking their feelings through. But yet there's something great about the animation of Oshi no Ko that you feel these characters are constantly taking the screen into their own hands, if that makes sense. When Ruby talks, you feel that Ruby is the center of the image. You don't feel like someone else is in like the side character being present, if that makes sense. It's more so this is Ruby's story. This is Aqua's moment. It does a great job of animating that. I feel like never is there a missed beat when it comes to just on screen time. And don't get me wrong, for those who are Kana fans, she's one of the main characters and kind of one of the romance characters of Aqua, kind of. I'm not gonna spoil too much about that either, but kind of gets a big moment that's from the arc of the manga. She gets like 1 or 2 episodes that are directly for her, and they're good. Don't get me wrong, they're very very good. The animation on it though is incredible. I mean, when there's a moment where she screams because of the drama she's going through, you feel in your heart. I think when an anime does that, it's a mixture between animation but also the voice acting, which I'm not even gonna have to say this. The voice acting has always been incredible for Oshi no Ko. Dub wise, I think it's good. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's bad at all. Dub is very good. I do prefer the Japanese on this because I feel like it just has a little more weight to it when you compare the whole thing of being idols and stuff like that, and having it where it's that type of world versus throwing that English voice acting into it. So I feel like the dub is not the best way to go with No Shinoko, but if you are a dub person, there's nothing wrong with the dub. It's plenty perfect. It's fine the way it is. Credit to them. But yeah, I definitely feel like this is a sub type of show you want to watch it sub, and I think that the animation really does help with that. It makes it stronger to watch, but also it does go inside with everything else. Like that's I think that's probably the best way I should have probably started this review when I was talking about it was that everything about the show coincides with one another. That's like that's why it's easy for me to go from talking about the dub to the animation to the voice acting like that. It's so well done and the way it's presented that everything just clicks with one another. That's why I feel like Oshi no Ko should get a little more recognition because it really does a great admirable job of keeping everything working with each other. The voice acting is incredible because the animation's incredible, and the animation's incredible because the story's incredible, and these characters just work inside because they're so well written, they're so diverse in terms of how they act. You see that, like, that's all. I'm not gonna really go into details about it because I've talked about it ad nauseum in other video reviews for it. But Oshi no Ko being the kind of darker themes of idolism in Japan and all that, and I want to say the seedier stuff that happens, unfortunately, behind the scenes, excuse me. I would love to talk about that, but I've already talked about that, like I said, ad nauseum. I don't want to go into just regurgitating information about that. I think that's the center glue that holds everything together. So that makes the story so much easier to just digest, but at the same time, it makes everything else work perfectly because when they animate these scenes of characters' faces, in horror, as maybe a secret comes out to the media, or when a certain character, talks about their relationship and how with idols and stuff like that, it's not supposed to be a open forum of their relationships. For the most part, idols are not supposed to be dating, but if they do date, there's a lot of tension to it. There's tabloids, the paparazzi, etc. Those things exist, and they make their lives a lot harder because now when you instead of going out on a simple date, you have 30 people that take pictures. You go, oh look, that's so and so. It's a famous character, and that's Kana's arc, by the way. Like in a nutshell, is that she's seen going out with someone allegedly, and people misconstrue it and take it as like, oh, this is a romance. It's with an older person, etc. And meanwhile, it has nothing to do with any of that. And I won't spoil what it actually is talking about, but you see that, and it ruins her image for a while, and almost ruins everyone around her in the process. And Aqua's response to that is the big turning point of season 3, which, I mean, that's why I can't really go into too much detail, because that is what is such a great part of his story, and also what's a great part of the whole story is Oshi no Ko as a whole. Now, I will say season 3 is almost perfect. I really have no issues with it. All these characters are well represented. All of them have their big moments that they need. Even side characters have some bigger moments. Like Akane, she is a big character, don't get me wrong, but she always feels like the side person in the story. I don't know why it is, to me at least. Like, she is someone that is very cohesive. You need her in the story. She's right now dating what's it called, Aqua, and their relationship is going down a very sketchy pathway. But her story has never been, I feel like, relevant beyond season 2, where she had that moment where she was dealing with depression and stuff like that. She has a big moment too, and she is still, to me, a side character because she's not the direct main cast of the characters, even though she's so prominent in, I want to say, the opening images and the opening songs and stuff like that. But she is still a side character. Like, no matter what, if you look at how much she delves with the story, she's in the background a lot of times, and I think that's a good kind of place for her character because it works so well for the story. But everything about Oshi no Ko season 3, like, I could talk about it for days and tell you that this works, this works, this works. But here's the thing: if I was to review Oshi no Ko season 3 as is, gets a perfect score, A plus for me. It's not just because I'm an Oshi no Ko fan, and this is also again, I am not saying the whole series as a whole is going to get a perfect score. I'm gonna tell you right now, if the ending ends the same way as the manga, we're gonna have a little bit of a discussion. I'm gonna try to do a season 4, finale review because I do want to do one for Oshi no Ko. But if it ends that way, the same way the manga ends, I promise you're gonna see a different review score, and I will put a spoiler warning for when I do that review because I feel like that one I'm gonna have to just blow out the whole story in terms of, I can't hide anything about what's happening and stuff like that. But anyways, guys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this review. I do have one more video hopefully planned this month. I'm not promising that because it's one I want to go into. It's a more personal video, not for just my life, but I want to like almost make an advice corner video, I think. I was debating about doing it for a while. I might do it. I'm not sure yet. But if it does come out, it'll come out this month. If not, it'll maybe come out next month. Maybe, I don't know. Anyways, guys and girls, until I pass across again in the next review, let me know in the comments below what you guys are looking forward to this upcoming, what is it, spring season or summer season? I think spring. I'm losing track of the seasons. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to this general this anime year. I love you guys all. God bless you all. Have a great one, everyone. Bye bye.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane,